Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unit 2. Hopefully, you had a good first week of grad school, and now you're getting ready to begin your second week. Two things. The human subjects assignment, giving you another week for that. I sent an announcement out because the web page was down and you guys were having all sorts of issues with that website. It was down for a couple of days, so that threw everything off. But it should be back up and running now, so that should be good. You have until next Sunday night to do that. It looks like just about everyone had their plagiarism assignment in yet. If you haven't done that, please send that in so you don't lose too much credit for that. That's week one. So beginning week two. So I'll share my screen here. Hopefully I share it correctly and you don't have to look at a picture of myself and my wife for a while. So I'll share, screen, share. So looking at the second screen here, this is Unit 2. So Unit 2, what you're doing is it's library week this week. Do not forget that your library session is tomorrow at 4:30 in room 205A with Matthew Chase. And if the technology allows, I'll be there virtually as well. So that's what you'll be doing tomorrow. For this week, you also have some readings. It's chapter 2 of the Cresswell book. And then after tomorrow's activity and session with Matthew, go ahead and check out all these links. He'll probably go over with you tomorrow in the session, but check out all these links here to do with the library. Be really helpful as you move forward for this semester and the following semesters on how to find articles, and then all the resources that the library has. So there's a ton of good information here. Matthew will go over that tomorrow with you. Going back to Unit 2, there's also an assignment this week. The assignment is the APA citation formatting. And I mentioned last week how important the citation formatting is. Please try to get this down early in your education as possible. This way, once you've learned it and you're done, then you get all these free points for the next couple years. So please try to do well on this and every other assignment. So I'll just go over it real quick. In your own words, briefly define the three approaches. It's qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods. You can read about these in your book in the Cresswell in the first chapter or the Law and McDermott in chapter 6. Just make it short though. One paragraph, 300 words or less. Please make it under 300 words. So what you're doing this in each narrative is just describe the strength of each approach to research. Why should we use quantitative? Why should we use qualitative? What's the strength of it? The next thing you'll do is look in peer-reviewed journal literature. So peer-reviewed being your American or Canadian journals of occupational therapy, and even I think there's an Indian. There's a lot of different countries. It doesn't even necessarily have to be an occupational therapy journal, but just make sure it's peer-reviewed. So it's not essentially a magazine article. Okay, so make sure it's a journal. If you're unsure if your journal is peer-reviewed or not, you can send either of us a question, but or Matthew, the librarian, a question as well if you're really unsure. But if you found it on one of these databases, it should be peer-reviewed. And then using these search databases, which you'll find out more about tomorrow, which is PubMed, CINAHL, or Google Scholar. It doesn't have to be either of those three. It could be something else like EBSCO or another database. And select one qualitative article and one quantitative. So this has been a little bit of a problem in the past, is the qualitative piece, the qualitative article. A lot of journals will say if you're submitting a qualitative article, it must say qualitative in the title, so there's no confusion. So if you find an article that says a qualitative study, well, it's a qualitative study. If not, look in the methods, look in the abstract, see if it says it's a qualitative study. With that being said, studies looking at quality of life aren't necessarily a qualitative study. It's just, there's something with those words, and a lot of times the students see quality of life or anything to deal with quality, they think it's qualitative, but it's usually not the case, okay? So make sure you look at the methods, you look at it, or just trying to find a study that says a qualitative study, and the work is done. I understand it's really confusing at this point in your education as to what's qualitative, so being the second week of your first research course, try to find an article that says it's a qualitative study. And then quantitative is probably what many of you are used to, and that shouldn't be an issue. Try not to include a review paper, a systematic review, a meta-analysis. Try to just find something that's a quantitative study. Quantitative is most of the studies that you'll find, a randomized controlled trial, a cohort study, a lot of these are quantitative. Okay, I probably made that sound more difficult than it is, and it's probably, you guys will do well, but just want to make that clear. Make sure you cite it in APA format. And then the last part, these articles should be of a topic of personal and professional interest. So that's really what we try to do. And when you have Dr. Colshaw and I in the following semesters, we really just want to make your research interesting. We want you to research something that's meaningful, that's interesting to you. If you're not interested in pediatrics and you're interested in, let's say, in geriatrics, then that's the area we want you to focus on, because that's what's interesting. Otherwise, research is really brutal if you're looking at something you're not interested in. Then number 4, upload the full text version as an attachment, just like you've been doing. You should have 3 things in summary: the narrative part, the quantitative PDF, and the qualitative PDF, okay? And cited, obviously, as well. This just goes over essentially the same thing that I said. And put your word count on the top of your Word document that you send in, so we just know how many words it is. So that is the assignment you have for Unit 2. Unit 3, which we're not there yet, but it still follows the same, we're still gonna have the same readings. You don't have any additional readings, you just have this one for Unit 2. But Unit 3 is where you'll submit your library assignment. We'll talk about that more next Monday. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to email us and we'll get back to you. So, all right, have a good week. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks.